Morning, Joe. Morning, Jamie. How you guys doing?
Morning, Ben. Good.
Morning, Ben.
How's everything going?
Good. Getting back to reality after the snow day yesterday. So
it doesn't count being festive for Valentine's Day when your colors are red anyways, right?
Yeah.
You guys, you get a cop out on Valentine's Day.
Festive every day.
Yeah, but exactly. Valentine's Day and Christmas fit right in.
Nailed it.
How's things going in the world of logistics these days? Things are cranking. Things are moving.
Yeah, I'd say start to Q1 is pretty strong.
Yeah.
I think after the holidays we kind of get that little bump when everybody officially comes back to work. So yeah, January, February are looking really good so far. Hoping the trend continues. I mean, we're really hoping that we don't see kind of a repeat of last year's cycle, which was everyone feeling great January, February, and then kind of stand around in March, April wondering what happened. So definitely hoping the trend continues. Yeah,
I just sort of realized as you said that, it's obviously Valentine's Day, February 14th. So that's really the midpoint of Q1. It's crazy that we're already at this point. Feels like we're still sort of catching up after New Year's. So Jamie, what's going on your side? How are things?
I think they're going pretty well overall. As Joe said, January was definitely up to start the year. I think we had a little bit of a dip at the beginning of February, but now seems like we're catching back up a bit. Yep. Taking a look at just things overall, fuel seems to be going back up.
Yep.
Just by a few points at least the last 3 weeks or so. So just something to keep an eye on with rates of all forms, liquid bulk especially, but obviously it'll bleed into dry van rates too.
And usually you see gas prices get more expensive kind of like springtime, right? Because you're coming back to driving season, so it's a little early for that seasonality piece of it, I guess. Are you guys seeing stuff? You said January and February have been decent. Are you seeing more things stronger on dry van, LTL? Has it kind of been across the board, or what are the hot things? Anything stand out that's stronger than others, or?
Yeah, I think once we get a little bit further out from the holidays, LTL kind of normalizes a little bit. I think all those carriers are starting to see that it's a little bit more manageable. Dry van prices definitely starting to trend upward, which is kind of a good indicator of where the economy is headed. Again, hopefully that continues through to March, April, and so forth. But I mean, anything coming out of the Northeast back down south is still pretty strong as far as capacity goes. So looking at hopefully continue that trend for sure. Yeah,
and we're seeing it on the TCC side. I mean, business has been pretty strong January and February kind of across the board. We're starting to see some hints of price increases, back from Feb 1 and then starting to think about March 1, April 1 increases on a lot of things. So whether that's a sign of just things getting more expensive or, supply improving or whatever the case might be, we're seeing things will be more expensive, I think, come March, whether it's the product side or the freight side.
Yeah, and that's, I mean, especially in the chemical side, when all the trade shows, conferences all start kicking off and get a bunch of sales guys together, they'll start drumming up some opportunities, I'm sure, right?
That's the idea.
Yeah.
That's the idea. That's what my boss keeps telling me. So
that's why we go.
That's the plan.
Yeah,
that's the plan. I think one of the hot topics, no matter what you do these days, is ocean freight. Whether it's trying to get stuff to the States, out of the States, getting raw materials somewhere to make something to then come to the States. It's amazing how far the impacts of some of this freight stuff really trickle down between the Red Sea and Panama Canal and whatnot. So I'm sure that's throwing you guys for a little bit of a loop the last couple of weeks here.
Yeah, it's certainly continuing to be an issue if anybody was depending on that supply. I think that just goes back to trying to forecast properly, and no one really saw the Red Sea turning as disastrous as it has, but that secondary supply certainly helps. And if we said, I think on a podcast or two, if you have any Latin American support, South American support, this is when you're probably in a much better position if you're not really depending on those European suppliers as much.
For sure.
Yeah, it brings a lot of those conversations of reshoring back up, tighten up your supply chains as best you can. You've seen people getting kind of creative with working around these ocean freight issues, or is it just kind of is what it is and there's delays? Or
I think for the most part, you're kind of just stuck where you are. I mean, obviously a lot of people, to Joe's point, are looking at Latin American supply, looking at different supply options, whether it's Mexico, Latin America, domestic, wherever they can.
Yep.
But I mean, I think a lot of it will just come down to, if the Panama Canal's busy, then you're bringing a lot more into the West Coast, into Long Beach, into Tacoma, wherever you're bringing in, rather than, trying to go from China to the Gulf or something like that.
Yep.
Which in some ways it kind of made more sense to do that to begin with. But I mean, it's just going to have a trickle down effect onto the rail and things from there.
I was going to say, so that's going to trickle down to rail, if you're shipping intermodal, trucks in and out of, I can't imagine Tacoma, Washington is a massive truck hub compared to like the Mobiles and Houstons of the world. So it'll maybe strain things downstream from that too.
Yeah, I mean, the Mexican border was already an issue. So if you do have any supply coming in, I think that's, potentially a gateway that needs to be looked at for sure. I mean, this is, 100%. A time that when we're looking at infrastructure that needs to be addressed because, you clearly can't count on, the overseas to supply your whole economy. So,
Yep.
I was just going to say, I think we were already talking about something the other day, Joe, you and I were. I think Mexico is one of the highest supply partners right now of the U.S.
Yeah, I think they just took it over, right? I think it was
so. Canada,
now it's Mexico, something like that.
Well, China was for a long time, but I think
maybe that's what it was, China. Yeah.
So Mexico has certainly come to the forefront. It's and they even have I was reading an article the other day that says that all the issues that the truckers are having is potentially costing the economy $95 billion, which, for the biggest economy, it's probably a drop in the bucket, but still, if we could, get some efficiencies there, that certainly would help everybody.
I'd love to know where that $95 billion figure comes from. I want to see the math. I'm sure it's probably close to accurate, knowing, how many economists work for the federal government and whatnot, but I'd love to see the math.
The statisticians, we'll cook it however it makes the argument that much better for them.
True.
Sure.
What else is keeping you guys busy? That kind of the main, stuff seems like stuff's just busy across the board. People are doing a little bit better than maybe this time last year, moving more freight, raw materials, finished goods, whatever the case might be. Seems like just in general, the economy's doing all right, and you guys are seeing the results of that.
Anybody who had inventory that they didn't dump in, October, November, December, certainly looking like a rock star right now.
Sure.
They might have been getting some grief, to clear up some year-end stuff last year. But if you have any inventory now, you're able to recoup whatever you were potentially losing. So I think it's just a matter of backfilling in that material. So
sure.
We're getting requests to see other opportunities to, kind of subverse the Red Sea potential. So it's a good time to be in logistics.
Yep. And you guys are traveling a little bit here, right? Coming up, I guess we'll have one more episode pre AFPM, but you guys got some stuff coming up over the coming months.
I got SACMA down in Nashville next week. So we'll be in attendance there early next week, and then AFPM after that. So, and then it's 1 to 2 a month from there on out. So,
Yep. And Jamie's making his debut at AFPM, right? First time going.
Yeah. First time down to AFPM. First time to San Antonio. So,
meeting stacking up.
Very nice. Very nice. Well, Joe, Jamie, appreciate it as always. We'll see what happens with some of these ocean freight concerns and where we sit this time next month. We'll get a little pre-AFPM update. It's always nice to chat kind of pre-AFPM, see kind of what the hot topics are going to be and what folks are talking about, and then obviously see how many other people are talking about that post-AFPM and do a little recap. So look forward to that, and we'll see you guys soon.
Sounds good. Thanks, Ben.
Sounds good. Thanks,
guys.